Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a truly fascinating and honestly completely unexpected tour of the giant casino we call life. We're going to be unpacking a deeply provocative philosophical essay by a writer named Xu Feng, who basically challenges us to look at our everyday, run-of-the-mill decisions through a radically different lens. All right, let's dive right in. So let me ask you something right off the bat, and I want you to be totally honest with yourself here. Do you gamble? Now, when I say that, you're probably instantly picturing the flashing neon lights of Vegas, right? Pulling a slot machine lever or sitting nervously at a high-stakes card table. And if you don't do those things, you're probably thinking to yourself, no way, absolutely not, I'm a very responsible person. But the reality we're going to explore today, well, it's much, much more expansive than any physical casino floor.
Part 1. Are you a gambler? Redefining the game.
Okay, to really grasp the fundamental premise of this metaphorical casino we're walking into today, we basically have to throw out all our preconceived notions of what gambling actually means. Shang Zheng defines a gambler as anyone who wants to win rich rewards by betting their money, their youth, their future, and their very life on uncertain things they self-identify as certainty. Just think about that for a second. It's intense. In a real casino, the dealers aren't gambling, are they? They're just working a job where the mathematical odds are completely stacked in their favor. But the players are hoping for a reward based entirely on chance. And according to the author, the harsh truth of this game is that players eventually lose everything they started with. The truth is simple, yet, everyone still wants to play. So if we apply this definition to our actual lives, where exactly are we placing our bets? Let's look at our first example to see how this builds. Section 2. The ultimate bet. Marriage. The wedding chapel. Let's step right into the first room of our casino tour. Society basically tells us marriage is the safe route. We expect it to be this happy, joyous, harmonious thing filled with blessed lifetime love. But the reality of the bet is, well, it's quite different. You are essentially betting your whole youth and your entire life on another human being. And let's be real, human beings have incredibly unpredictable personalities, outlooks, and temperaments. The person who enthusiastically shares all your hobbies today might be a completely different person a decade from now. You self-identify this relationship as a sure thing, a certainty, but the reality is entirely uncertain. Because of that extreme unpredictability, the author reaches this pretty heavy conclusion. Marriage is the biggest gamble in life. And remember that golden rule of the casino we established a minute ago? The eventual result of all gambling is that the gambler loses. So since marriage is such a massive bet placed on a totally unknowable future, the author suggests the ultimate result of this gamble is tragically uncertain. It's a heavy thought, I know, but it brilliantly illustrates just how much risk we casually accept in our personal lives while just calling it settling down. Section 3. Wagering on beliefs. The Hall of Beliefs. All right, let's raise the stakes a bit. We're stepping out of the wedding chapel and into what we can call the Hall of Beliefs, where people bet not just their youth, but their very destiny and future. Participating in religion and becoming a believer is framed here as another form of high-stakes gambling. You're betting your destiny on rituals and ideas that each claim to be the absolute truth. But without absolute proof, these claims face massive challenges, standing up to facts, scientific scrutiny, logical deduction, and different spiritual perceptions. Becoming a believer means you are basically placing your chips on one specific interpretation of the universe, just hoping it pays out in the end. The dilemma of this gamble becomes super obvious when we look at how different major religions view something as fundamental as marriage and life. For instance, Christianity practices monogamy. Islam allows men to have 4 wives. Buddhism teaches followers not to marry at all, but rather to become monks and nuns. These are completely contradictory rules for living. They literally cannot all be the ultimate, universal truth at the exact same time. So the crucial point here is that by choosing one, you have to place a blind bet on which of these mutually exclusive paths is actually consistent with the universe's truth. If you aren't absolutely sure, and honestly, how could you be? Then you're simply pulling another lever in the casino. Part 4. Power, People, and Progeny. The high-stakes rooms. We're moving even deeper into the casino now, over 1,000. That is roughly the number of political parties globally right now. And it doesn't matter which one you choose to join or support. The author argues that picking one is just straight-up casino gambling. Why? Because political parties are simply contenders for power and interest. Whenever you have a system competition, a race, you are inevitably going to have winners and losers. And as we've learned, participating in anything that has winners and losers is a gamble.
Partisans, therefore, are really just gamblers wearing different colored suits.
Let me fire off a rapid-fire question to you. Do you have children, or, do you plan to? If your main purpose for having kids is the expectation that they'll bring glory to your family name or that they're going to protect and support you in your old age, well, you're gambling. You are placing your hard work, your sweat, and your hope on a highly questionable future. Whether your children will actually succeed in doing those things is completely 100% unknown.
Okay, here's the second rapid question. Do you spend a lot of time, energy, and money on your interpersonal relationships? Whether you're doing it to get ahead in your career, for safety, or just for affection and entertainment, forging special relationships is a huge gamble. You can absolutely never guarantee if the relationships you spend years building will bring you noble allies who lift you up, or if they'll turn into curses that put you at risk. Every text, every coffee meeting, every dinner party, it's all chips being pushed right to the center of the table, hoping your new connection doesn't turn out to be your worst headache.
Section 5. The Financial Casino. The Trading Floor.
Let's arrive now at what we traditionally associate with risk, where the metaphor becomes literal. You trade stocks, engage in venture capital, or financially support a business. You take these risks driven purely by wishful thinking for generous returns, but ultimately you face the completely unknown and often wildly counterproductive reality of the market. The author points out that this process is virtually identical to walking through the double doors of a casino with the explicit intention of winning big money. You simply do not know what the outcome will be.
And it definitely doesn't stop at Wall Street. There's so many other fields of life that operate exactly like casinos. Stepping onto a literal battlefield, navigating bureaucracy and officialdom, entering a standard workplace, starting a business, or even entering a teaching field. The underlying nature is identical. Once you enter any of these arenas, you are subjecting yourself to the unknown. You instantly become a gambler.
Section 6. Waking up to the game. Cash out or play on.
This brings us to the final, really profound realization of our journey today. Let this sink in for a second. If you invest your time, your physical strength, your mental energy, and your future on an uncertain direction, you are gambling. It doesn't matter if you dress it up and call it building a career, starting a family, or finding yourself. If the developmental direction and the future results cannot be absolutely determined, you are a gambler playing a game of chance. So, what exactly do we do with all this information? Well, Xiufan presents us with a pretty stark choice. He says if you think gambling is fun and exciting, then play as much as you like. Anyway, everything is empty in the end, so why not enjoy it? It's a fascinating perspective, isn't it? You can choose to just knowingly embrace the empty, chaotic fun of this giant casino. You can accept that it's all a game of chance and just enjoy the thrill of the spin. Or you can wake up. Which brings us to one last, deeply provocative question from the author. If you know that emptiness is not empty, meaning if you sense that there is a deeper truth or substance to existence beyond just rolling the dice, then shouldn't you think deeply about life? Shouldn't you reconsider every major decision you make, knowing the sheer amount of risk you're actually taking on? It's a question that completely reframes how we view our daily actions. So, are you going to keep playing the odds blindly, or are you ready to finally understand the game? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to think on that.